Cathy Cray. I'm with Paper Assets Capital. My partner here is
Cathy Jeffs. Some of you may know me, I'm not sure. And we are in the second position distressed note business specifically. Hoping to branch out in the future.
What's the second mortgage? What's the second position? What's that mean?
So usually when somebody buys a home, that first initial 80% generally financed amount, that's a first position note. It's a senior lien, other verbiage. A junior lien could be a HELOC, could be just a second mortgage that you took to put a new balcony on your house or a patio, whatever. So it's really just a junior to the senior.
Okay. A junior to the senior. How many, what's your average of, a lot has been talked about HELOCs.
It could be a HELOC.
What are the people, why do they take a second mortgage out?
finance college, pay for a boat.
Brand new kitchen.
Exactly. Hopefully to fix something in their home, because that's what they're taking the value from. But it could be used for almost anything.
Right. Maybe they saw a fancy new pair of boots that was $12,000 they want.
Did you have that happen?
No, but the point is, we don't know why it doesn't matter what they spend the money on.
So you've got this mortgage, you've got a second mortgage, not a first mortgage, that everybody's basically, most people are used to.
Mm-hmm.
Can you foreclose on a second and own the house? Or how does all that work? Some people don't think you can foreclose on a second, but those have teeth. Is that true?
So not only can you foreclose from a second, you can foreclose from a fifth. You can foreclose from any lien on the home. Anything, in any amount.
If it's attached to the home?
If it's attached to the home, if it's using the home as collateral or security, it can be foreclosed upon. Any position.
Well, what happens? When you guys decide that you're going to foreclose, I can only assume you get these notes, you get this paper, this loan, and then you talk to the borrowers. What determines whether you're going to foreclose or not? If they just go dark on you,
Well, yes, that's a good example of going dark. But some borrowers don't even respond to the initial contact. We send out a really nice welcome package explaining who we are, explaining that we do own their note and it is a valid debt that they need to be paid on. And, they give them the option to contact us, and then we start to try to call them if we have our research on the history of the borrowers. If they don't get in contact with us, then we're going to have to go the legal route, and we send out what we call a demand letter. In some states it gives them 30 days to respond, some states it's 90 days to respond. And then if they see that, most of them will say, oh, this is really something serious, and they'll give us a call and we'll start communicating. If they don't, then it starts the actual foreclosure process, and then the legal process starts, the clock starts, and we go forward with that. Some people wait up until the very last minute. We've had someone go to actually wait until the sheriff's sale on this courthouse steps, and then they immediately say, okay, I can pay, I'm going to pay for that. So, and again, that takes quite a long time, and hopefully not too many people do that.
right.
But,
Do you have an average?
Wait, I want to add on to that.
Okay,
We've
go
also taken them to foreclosure where the sale has actually occurred
yes.
and left them in the house.
What do you do with that?
We own the deed. Go ahead.
Exactly. They become renters in their previous property. So then we hold the deed to the property, and we'll work with them to, like we said, start collecting rent. In which case we have an option to continue paying the first to keep that current, or if this was a very low buy, we could just forget about the first and collect the rent for us to pay ourselves back and let the first foreclose, which would probably take another year and a half or so.
What's the kind of reaction that you get from people when something like that happens? All of a sudden, they've messed up on their second, and they finally figured it out because they just lost their house, probably not realizing that could happen, and now they're renters instead of owners.
They're renters in their own home. What's beautiful about that is it's their home, and they've always felt like it's their home. So they're actually going to take care of it, which is kind of nice for us since we have the deed. But what is the reaction? The reaction is you just lost your house. Cathy one time had a borrower and a workout. Well, actually, it wasn't our note; it was somebody else's note. The borrower, they took it all the way to foreclosure. They owned it for months, and this woman still did not believe she didn't own her home. She was paying the first. She continued to pay the first on a house she no longer owned because she didn't believe she didn't own it.
Sometimes people just don't wake up.
So, right.
Which was
and
good for us because she was paying the first.
Sometimes
or
people
them,
don't
actually.
think that the second mortgage has that much teeth
That's
Absolutely.
true.
to
That's
it.
true.
So we talked about bankruptcy earlier. So talk to me about bankruptcy. What happens when somebody files bankruptcy on their notes?
A lot of people think bankruptcy is a deal killer or it's the end of the world. A lot of borrowers threaten us. We're going to file bankruptcy, and we're always like, yay, because I'd rather talk to your lawyer than talk to you. It's always a better deal to talk to them. The second thing that's fantastic about bankruptcies is when somebody files bankruptcy by law, punishable by prison, they must literally disclose every single asset of their financial situation and liability. And it's posted publicly with redacted information on pacer.gov. So we actually hear bankruptcy and go, okay, now we're going to know literally everything we need to know about that borrower. What do they have? What can they sell to pay us? What their scenario is? Literally everything.
Does pacer.gov, does that show federal liens or anything like that, or just regular stuff that they've
It shows
got behind them?
Everything.
It does show everything.
Yeah.
It shows what they
IRS.
disclose.
Well, exactly, which they are supposed to, as you said, disclose everything, or else,
And if they don't disclose everything on
punishable by
this,
prison.
it'll blow back because on Pacer it has things that aren't on this thing
But
over
it's
here.
also
How
punishable
many
by
of them
prison.
go, oh, I forgot?
I don't know. That's between them and their bankruptcy attorney. Point being, the information you're seeing is probably really, really thorough.
Why'd you guys get into seconds?
Oh, I'll let you tell me.
Well, no, I'll start it and then you can finish it. You do a good ending. We actually got into seconds. We'd gone to a couple of meetings and said, okay, well, we have this amount of money for our first venture into this business, and we could either buy one or maybe two firsts, or we could buy a lot more seconds. So we said, okay, let's buy the second market, and also because, as you mentioned before, the returns are, a better ratio. So we purchased 2 second notes.
Right, on our third meetup, right?
Yes, very quick, very
You
quick.
guys went to a meetup.
1 hour meetup,
Yeah.
not
1
a
hour
2-day
meetup.
conference.
1 hour, okay.
3 1-hour meetups.
You guys were green.
3
Green
1-hour
dudes.
meetups.
Yes, we were. But what's the best way to learn?
Do.
Exactly.
On the end of our third meetup, we walked up to the guy running the meetup and said, we'd like to buy 2 notes. Starter notes, test notes, starter things.
Was this the second mortgage meetup?
Yeah. So
Okay.
we bought 2 notes for $9,400 with a combined UPB of about 60,000, a little under 60,000. So
UPB is unpaid balance.
unpaid principal balance, correct? So it was funny. Our business, we didn't have a whole business plan in mind yet. The idea was she'd work one and I'd work one, and we'll see how that goes. So I get on the phone, I call my guy, my file, and I said, hello, this is Gemini Solutions, and we've just purchased your note, and we.
At the time you were Gemini Solutions.
At the time, yes. And Cathy and I have a company separate from PAC called Bank. And so the guy screamed at me in my ear, I filed bankruptcy, don't you ever call me again. Slammed the phone down in my ear. I'm a corporate businesswoman. People don't generally yell at me. I'm not used to it. I did not like it. I was like, he just yelled at me. So all right, so we took that file, put it up on a shelf. Cathy called her guy. Hello, this is Cathy from Gemini Solutions. We just purchased your mortgage, whatever the spiel is. And he, oh my God, I'm so glad you called. I've been wanting to pay, I just had no idea who. And by the way, could you help me reach into my 401k, grab out $10,000 of back arrears I owe you?
Wow.
Why, yes, we can.
Why, yes, we can. So we helped him write a hardship letter. Got 10,000 cash from him. Now, think about what just happened there.
Yeah, you're whole now.
We were made whole plus 600. Not only that, in the last 6 years, the man has never missed a $165 a month payment. Small payment,
bless
small
you,
UPB. Now, I got this other note sitting on the shelf where the guy yelled at me. Remember that guy? Took that note down off the
I was
shelf.
going to ask you about that. So go on.
Sold it to another investor for $7,500. Made about $3,000 on that as well.
Wow. But it was a bankrupted note. So why would this other guy even find any value in it?
Because he filed bankruptcy, which meant he was no longer personally responsible for the note.
But the house was.
House always is.
Was it a cherry house? Was it a cherry?
It was a
note?
nice house in a nice Midwestern town and a nice.
So there was some room left in between.
Sure.
Oh.
Sure.
And again,
But you can
everybody's-
still, even though a bankruptcy has occurred, you can still take and file foreclosure on the property because
Absolutely.
you're secured by the property. You're not secured by the borrower.
as long as you weren't stripped, which this one was.
And if that man
Oh,
wanted to
if that
continue
right.
to live in his home, he was going to start paying.
Even though he went bankrupt. So he had to get educated.
He needed an education.
So how many times have you got a loan that it had been sold so many times and it happens
That's
often?
never happened to us because we've been lucky in our trades that they've been 1 or 2 steps down from direct. So
Okay.
that actually hasn't happened to us.
So you guys haven't had it happen again, where somebody has been like, I just wanted to know where to pay. I wanted to pay it, but I
Oh
didn't
no,
know where to pay. That's
no,
what I meant.
no. I mean, I'm not saying that's actually not that uncommon. Because go back to what we were talking about. What is a junior lien? Back in the time frame of like 2005, 2009, whenever it was decided that it was a right to own a home and not a privilege, a lot of people were buying homes with zero money down. How are they
Yeah.
doing that? They're doing that with the 80/20s. So the 80 is the senior, the 20 is the junior. So a lot of people refinanced their senior and thought that the junior was rolled in. Didn't realize that it wasn't. So a lot of people stopped paying their second, not because they didn't have the money or the resource, they just thought it was refinanced into the first.
Oh,
So
then
some
when you
people do
start-
have that experience. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Communicating then it's just an education process to show them that it still is
that they
a valid
still
lien.
actually
and-
owe that money.
Right.
Right. So while we haven't
That's
had
got to be
another
heartbreaking for them, but yeah.
So while we haven't had another guy go, "Oh my God, I'm so glad you called," we have had people say, "Oh, I didn't realize. Let's do a workout."
What? So I slipped my mind. What?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, occasionally happens.
No, well, I interrupted you.
No, not that. So you've got these loans. You've got these. How do you How do you do your due diligence? That's kind of what.
PAC is famous for due diligence. Go ahead, Miss Cathy.
Well, our first step is we have a fantastic macro algorithm that's been put together. I can't. And it actually, we just dump the whole tape in there, and it goes through our different criteria, and then it spits out what we call our cherries. And then we actually then do a much deeper level of due diligence on those. We'll run our TLO, which then gives us addresses to make sure that they're still in the home. It gives us automobile information, confirms their social security number, things like that. Then we'll run credit reports. And again, this is called a soft pull on their credit report, so it doesn't show up on their report that we got the information, so that if they try to get a credit card or bank or something, it doesn't affect them in any way. But that then tells us more information about the borrower, which in the second position is our main focus instead of the house property. So with the borrower, we can see if they have delinquent checking, other types of bills. We can see how many car payments they have. We can make sure that the first mortgage is still current, or if not, how regularly they pay on that. We can see if they have outstanding student loans. It also shows if there's state or federal liens on the account. Sometimes it'll even show you their last work locations. So it really gives you a nice history of their credit status so that you can make a determination, are these people really, are they overextended, they're not even going to be able to
So you
do
guys,
anything?
as a second owner, you can get a pretty good overview of the borrower then. You
Yes.
can,
We also,
That's-
there's a lot of things we do actually.
Right.
We also do comps on the house to make sure that the stated FMV on the tape, that we agree with it. We do our own title reports. I do them myself, I don't pay anybody, to verify that it is in fact a valid lien. And by doing the title searches, we can also learn a lot.
now, is this before you buy the note or
This
after
is
you buy the
before.
note?
Before.
So this is basically what we call a soft file.
This is
You guys get a soft file and then you do your due diligence?
We just do no. This is a note. This is a tape that's being marketed for sale.
Oh, and they give you that much information?
Absolutely.
No.
There's two different kinds. There's masked and unmasked. You get the masked tape. You put an indicative bid in. If your indicative bid is accepted, then you get the unmasked tape, which includes Social Security numbers, address.
Okay, that's real close to the first. Sometimes I get an unmasked as a buyer of
And a
first.
few years ago, we used to too. They used to all be unmasked. The whole concept of a masked
It's
tape.
50-50 for me.
Right. But basically, we won't buy the note unless we have done all of these steps. We also have a macro that goes out to Zillow and pulls down literally every piece of information about that house. Now, in first position, more of that information might be valuable. In second position, we care about two fields. What is the Zestimate? Only because it adds to our comps. And when was the last date sold? If it was sold 4 weeks ago, I'm thinking that was a foreclosure and a sheriff's deed. And then we don't bother looking at that. So in our title searches, in our credit reports, in our TLO, in our comps, we do a full evaluation of that note before we ever think about buying it.
Nice. Okay. Why would somebody want to buy seconds over firsts? Why do you guys buy seconds over first? What's your return? Do you feel like you get a better return?
So I'll use a baseball reference that I just learned in the last year.
Okay.
Seconds get you more times at the plate. You have 100,000, you can buy one, possibly 2 seconds. Firsts. You have 100,000, you can buy 6, 8, 10 second position notes. Do you want 1 or 2 times at the plate, or do you want 6, 8, or 10 times at the plate? And the returns, because you're buying them at lower price points and they're lower UPBs, all of which equates to way lower amounts of money, of your money spent, the yields are astronomical. You can maybe double on a first. You can maybe double and a half on a first. You could go 10 times on a second. So, do you want 1.5 times of this, or do you want 10 times of this? I want 10 times of this. It's much more money.
Well, what do you
And I'll just send you a link. It's called Soulmates. And it's
if you take, you've got all these loans.
feminine energy.
What do you keep for yourself? What determines whether you're going to keep them or you're going to sell them off to another person? Are you looking at the loans off your what's called a list or a tape? So you're looking at these loans, and right away you're going, I want these loans right here. But you buy these loans, or you have to buy a pool. They make you buy this many for this much.
Most
Buy the pool or not, you know.
Well,
And
that's
then
not true.
you guys just
Some
like-
allow cherry picking.
I'm sorry.
Some allow cherry picking.
Okay. And then you go ahead and you take these loans and you buy these loans. What determines whether or not you're going to keep the loan?
Well,
Or do you
everyone has
determine
a-
that up front?
Everyone has a business model, so you determine
Yeah.
your business model up front. Ours is equity to cover the first mortgage and to cover our expense and purchase price of the second. Okay, and that's
At
to
minimum.
help us with the bankruptcy that we talked about earlier, to make sure we have equity. And of course that the first is current; they're paying their first. So that goes through. And then, of course, we have other criteria that I mentioned in the macro. Certain states, certain county locations, maybe we don't want. maybe under, nothing under 10,000, maybe we don't want to look at because it'll take too much work. It's not economical for us to do. So there's other criteria in there that we eliminate. And then that spits out what we call the cherries. And those are the ones that we do the deep due diligence on.
What happens to the other ones that you have to buy that you don't want?
Right. If they don't meet our model, then we're going to disperse those out for sale to our downline.
How many times have you changed your model since
Never.
you started out from? So
Never.
basically, you started out green as green could be, bought a couple, started going, thought, you know what, we've got a good model, and what you had started out with to begin with, you stayed with, and it's been good for you.
Right.
We've
and
never
again,
changed.
we were conservative. We didn't want to lose everything and then not be able to continue because we started small.
Sure.
So yes, that's basically worked for us. Now, some of the other ones that don't meet our model, we'll take a second look at them after we've purchased them, and maybe some of those, we could make
It's
a
like
deal
after
on.
all.
Exactly.
I think we make a brief attempt at contact, and if we can't get them in like 30 days, we'll sell them. But some of those can also be miraculous. Oh my goodness, this is amazing! I'm so glad. But, so you never know. So we would make like some initial attempts to get them. If we don't get them, we'll sell them because they're not in our model anyway.
Do you use a third-party contact person, or do you guys do all your own contact?
We do everything.
You do everything in-house?
She's the workout queen of all time.
Aw.
She is. She's amazing.
That's because I have great backup in administration.
She says that, but it's not true.
All right, well, there's two more of you. Who's the other people involved with your company?
Well, we have Al Sansoni. He is an actuary, and he handles all of
What's
our
an actuary?
Mathematician.
brilliant mathematician.
Okay.
Mathematician.
And he handles all of our assets and then also does all of the acquisitions for us. He makes the contacts with the banks and the hedge funds, and then that's who we communicate with to purchase the pools.
Okay. Who's the other one?
And we have Dennis Diekoff. He's a serial entrepreneur who's ridiculously successful at 32 years old, and he does all of our marketing, as you can see, our booth and all of these fantastic things. And he's also in charge of our investor relations. He's a great guy.
Is that right? All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, turn to the camera. Give some people your contact information. A little bit more about your contact information. So tell them and go ahead.
My name is Cathy Cray. That's CCRAY at PacDesk, PACDESK.com. And please check out our website, paperassetscapital.com.
I'm Cathy Jeffs. Same extension of the email, but I am CJEFFS. We have a meetup on meetup.com, Women in Notes. Join us. We do a monthly webinar, and I think we're okay at it.
Wow. So you guys are doing the webinar so people can keep in contact and check you out.
Absolutely.
Free education.
Totally free.
Completely
That's
free.
Wonderful. All right. Well, thank you very, very much. I appreciate
Great.
it
Thank you,
so
Gene,
much
very
for
much.
your time.
Thank you very much.
And I'll let you know when this is all done.
I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.